If the lighter side it brings, it's the RNG of things. But when you look inside, is it worth the ride? As a matter of fact, yes. What makes you go on a quest, eh? To explore the world and expand your horizons? To get all the money you can make and return home a better person? To protect the world from devastation? To unite all people within. Today, though, we're going to save our love from being this!
They're on your pack.
This is probably a fetish. Hello, the peoples. My name is Factor, an RNG Factor, and today we're going to be looking at something a little fucked up. You see this? This is your girl, and she's beautiful, I know. That's basically the main goal right there, and what a goal it is. Find a cure, win the girl, yada yada yada, been there, done that, have a party, moving on, right? Wrong! But also technically right. For now, let me summarize everything that led to this moment right here. We're this guy. That's our girl. Things go to shit, old woman finds us, and...
Still hideous, no matter how many times you see it, isn't it?
Fuck you, Grandma! She takes us here, gives us the chain, sends us off to die. So that's fun. We're tasked with getting some flesh, which means we're killing enemies. With killing comes combat, and this game is one part RPG, one part Weejank, and one part dodge, 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 dodge. You'll be participating in all three a lot, especially the Weejank. Ah yes, the delightful world of Nintendo saying, yeah, you can make a game here, but it better have a gimmick or I swear. See, well, A is attack, B is your chain, and Z is rodeo time, but you'll never use it. Your chain is the best thing in the game for killing bosses, swinging around, quick gathering, spiking, knitting, quilting, yarn, eggs, bacon, dog food. Wait a minute. It essentially does, a lot. The weapon combat is push A bunch, or hold A to charge, and the more your weapon is upgraded, the more power the weapon has, and certain upgrade levels can get you certain charge attacks, and better charge attacks, and everything, but those require timing and thinking, and that's it for attacking, actually. It's pretty simple, but it spices things up a little later on. Now that we're a master at hitting things with a swad, we kill a thing, jank its meat, and bail. Our hot girlfriend is— Oh, right. Forgot about that. Turns out Miss Lady here is part of a kingdom that ain't eat meat too good, but in order for her to not be a monster, she's gonna have to do it anyway. You know, I think I'll bring out my mug that has absolutely nothing to do with whatever. You can also get it in the description below. So, she starts eating, and... Why the fuck they thought this was a good idea to throw into a game is beyond me. Ah, fuck. Reading that shit is... still haunts me. Oh, and guess what? You gotta see this every freaking time! I'm sorry for typing this. Future me is gonna read this, and then future me is gonna have to edit this. Sorry, future me's. You're not forgiven. Anyway, she turns back to normal. Graham over here says she's gotta keep eating flesh to stay pretty, and I have to be the one to get the meat. Turns out, though, our waifu was on a timer. If you take too long to get the meat, she goes full monster. Grandma says there's a cure, though. If we give her master flesh, 12 bits of master flesh equals cured, and every tower has a master. It's 13 towers in total. Gee, I wonder what the 13th one is for. Right, hey, I hate it when a game does this. Like, alright, you have these many levels to go in the game, have fun! Cause, like, games feel slower when I can see the progress bar, you know? But that's usually when I only care about the end goal. In this particular case, I don't mind it as much, because we need all the master flesh to cure, so that means there's no, fluff towers. Each one has a purpose. We're not just going into a random tower to go kill a boss for no reason. Okay, with that out of the way, we head back to the tower and... Oh, hey, look at that! Chain! Wonder what that could be used for. Moving on. So we go through a few rooms, kill some enemies, and... Oh! Okay, so chain goes in there. Gotcha. And there's a prompt to link thing. Oh, means the flower is probably going to escape. Ha ha ha. Don't question it. I just remember doing it the first time I played this years ago. If you don't, it runs away. Yes, the flower runs away. So we link it and stab it, and the other flowers move. Alright. Linking is a feature that gets implemented in a lot of cool ways, actually, in future dungeons. So that's a cool way to introduce it. We pull back on this door with a chain and open it up and beat the crap out of the chain, and now the boss door is open. On the way to the boss, we see some items on the ground, and getting items from enemies and items from boxes. And by the way, did you know there's items in this game? I did! There's everywhere! There's a reason for that, no, because there's a ton of items in this game, and you have to collect them all, because you never really know what you're gonna need when you need to combine stuff or upgrade materials and weapons, and it's a whole mess. You do have limited space to carry things, but you have an infinite box back home, so don't worry about it too much, and just go back and forth if you need to. Alright, boss time! It's getting ready to attack. Oh, it's coming! Don't look out! Huh. You know, for an evil incarnate being, he doesn't really want to fight too much, does he? Oh, okay, he doesn't like that. So, let me just talk about this for a second. So the bosses in this game are actually one of my favorite things, with like only 1 or 2 exceptions. Each one has a weak spot that you get a spike and tear at. It's really cool. Each boss is unique, and I mean that. Each boss looks completely different. Each one has their own gimmick and isn't given away when, you know, when you're looking through a tower and you're like, oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff I need to do over here. That's probably how you kill the boss. This isn't Zelda garbage. You gotta think on your feet, and I really, really like them. Every time I went to go face a boss, I was like legit excited, and I haven't felt that about a game in a long time, because most of the time it's just like, oh great, now what? Oh, it killed me 5,000 times. Moving on. Or in other games it's just like, oh, here's a boss. I wonder if I can beat this in 10 seconds. But when you go in to fight the giant boss, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go kill big dudes! It's like, save my girlfriend! Master flesh or whatever. And speaking of saving my girlfriend, we rip that master flesh from the dude, cut it like a football, and see that poor thing suffer and head back. She takes it and nope, don't edit that. I don't want to see it again. You'd think I'd get used to it after playing this game for like 30 plus hours, but I just don't. I really just don't. Or at least I don't. I just really hate the sound of mastication. Mastication means chewing. Sicko. Oh look! A completely weird, ranting, hallucinating dream state that gives us no context whatsoever. I sure did pay attention to these when I was playing. Totally. Elena, our waifu for the evening, I forgot to mention that, passes out, which is something she's going to be doing a lot. Grandma says, she'll be fine, get more flesh, I'm not evil. Fuck you, Grandma. The dude we're playing at is actually named Aaron. Totally not going to be important, you know, later on. Just don't worry about it. So my girl is sleepy, my sword is ready, and I'm out. Wait, is that a door? Yeah, it turns out this place that we're in is actually kind of nice. It's got a living room that we can decorate with plants and rugs and a bunch of other stuff. A bathing room that we'll never use because we're the protagonist. The basement filled with notes that we can't read, so we give to our girl to translate for money. And a rooftop. Yeah. Sure do love looking at Doom. Doomy. Doomy chips. Okay, so we got our sword ready and upgraded, and right as I exit, we get stopped by our girlfriend to do a vow of Ios. Totally not a pinky promise with a finger. You ain't fooling me, game. I know what's up. And it ends as awkwardly as any early 2000s anime. Your relationship with Elena is actually important. See that bar on the left? That's our affinity meter. There's 10 points on it, and which point you're on will determine which ending you get. We're going to be getting the best ending, of course, but I'll be complaining about that later. And yes, there's going to be spoilers from here on out, so if you want to play this, get a copy, get a Wii, beat it, come back here, comment how much better you are at this game than I am, and subscribe. I also sure would like that. You know, like it. Like it, like it, right? You sure would like it. Please. I have an imaginary family. They eat a lot of cookies. Alright, second tower. This time it's 2 chains. Ooh. This tower is all about flinging stuff, and that's kind of the last thing we learn for the rest of the game. Yep. With flinging, you hold B and push A, and he flings it wherever you put your cursor. And it's also really funny, because you can do that with, like, almost any small enemy. It's hilarious. Especially when you're just like, done with you. So, we solve some puzzles, find chain doors, running out of time. Oh fuck, we're running out of time. Get back, get back, get back! This is where the game can actually get a bit tricky. See, every time you go out, you're on a time limit. You know, like in Tony Hawk Pro Skater, we get like 2 minutes to do a whole bunch of random tasks. Well, the difference in this case is, while the time limit is there, the longer you take, the more monster Elena becomes. She goes from normal to shoulder friend to hermit thing to I got this once, and never wanted to make her go through that again. It's fucking creepy, especially when she doesn't notice she's becoming a monster at this point. She's still loving you, and it's just like, you bring her food, she doesn't do monster things. Easy peasy. Honestly, too, the time limit isn't that bad. There's a ton of wiggle room. The other thing about this is that a lot of the drops you get are completely random. The developers had to make it so that if you didn't find flesh, you could still, you know, beat the tower. They had to give enough time limit for that, because all the drops you get from monsters and boxes and anything like that are random. Because it's random, you can't actually expect anyone to get flesh every single time, so they had to make it so that you could still beat it if you couldn't find anything within the time limit that you were given. Anyway, make sure GF be cool, store some stuff, sell some extra flesh, look at all the stuff Grandma sells you, that's way too expensive for now. Luckily, we did most of the stuff last time, so we just head to the tower to fight the boss, and it's so good, man. I love every single one of these bosses. The bosses literally make the game for me. Like, there's a whole relationship thing, the whole tower thing, and the whole whatever, but the bosses are so fun to fight. Also, you dodge. Use that good old Link move, get rid of it, spike the glowy bit, and rip out the goods. That's so good. Anyway, so Monster's sad again. We go back and we give monster flesh to Elena, and she eats it. It's disgusting. Don't show it. Oh, you showed it. Oh, get it. Ah. So she gets the visions of 2 people. And they showed up last time, and they're gonna be showing up again, and it's so entertaining. It's, like, okay, this part is really cool. Like, this part is really cool, but the issue is that it doesn't really make any sense until the end, so you just kind of have to hope you remember all of the bits. It's kind of annoying. A small summary up to this point is everything's gone to shit, and these 2 are raising a kid. There you go. At least for now. Always remember to sell your stuff, upgrade what you can, store some stuff, go into the new tower, it's water themed, and you know, from here on, the towers are kind of, unfortunately, very similar. Sure, the colors change, and sometimes you're outside, or sometimes it's dark, but apart from the bosses, the structure is the same. Each tower is a theme, like rocks, or hot, or grass, or more fucking rocks. You have all the tools at your disposal, meaning the only thing you care about is finding chain doors and getting to the boss. Nothing else really matters. I don't want to show every boss and every tower and every single time and do this, like, oh gosh, I'd be repeating myself 10 more times. So with all this monotony of every tower being roughly the same minus a few things, how did the devs make this bearable? Well, funny enough, it's not the level design or the new weapons. Even with getting new scythe, that gave me new meaning, and I love it, and I fully upgraded it, and yes, I'm crazy, but it's so cool, look at it! They threw all of their cards on Elena. Every time you get the first chain door, there's a small animation break when she's doing something around the house. When you come back, she might have some special moments that increase your affinity. You can give her seeds to grow a garden outside. You can give her potted plants to decorate the house and make it lively. She sews tablecloths and bed covers, and you learn to cook after a few weeks. She can sing, even though that's totally not her voice, and I don't really exactly like it, and its song's kind of dumb, and she's like doing an opera thing outside. I don't get it. And there's just so many small snippets that you get of her. They put so much money into the animation and the voice acting and all these little things that eventually you start wanting to help her because you want to help her. All the towers don't feel monotonous anymore because you have an end goal. You actually start liking her more. You get to know her a lot more, and she's kind of a Mary Sue, but it's okay because she's actually kind of cute. Look at her. You want to protect her, huh? Not that, don't break, oh gosh. And because you want to help her, you want to get that affinity meter to the highest it can be, right? No, you do not. You do not want to, man. It is complete bullshit. Excuse me. Let me back up a bit. So, while you're scouring the tower for flesh and giving it to her, she doesn't quite hesitate that much that time. Anyway, while you're getting stuff and bringing it back, you might get items to increase her affinity, like flowers and berries and medicine. There's also mini scenes that gives you some. You can talk to her 3 times every time you come back from a tower or sleeping for an hour, and afterwards, after the 3, she'll just start saying stuff like, ah, yes, Aaron? You can give her dresses that can break if she's wearing one, and then she turns monster, and then you have to repair it or buy her a whole new one, just repair it, and then you can give it back to her and get more affinity. See, it's genius. And all of these things, from blanket making to berry giving, increases your affinity for Elena. Very slowly. Getting a tick up in the meter can take literal hours. I have the footage to prove it. It is a slog, and what's been keeping me from completing this video for the longest time, but I did it and would never recommend doing it ever. Turns out, though, you only needed 9 out of 10 ticks to get the best ending. Sure wish I would have known that. Where was I? Oh, right, Elena being the main reason to play the game. Man, after what it cost to get the best ending, I'm not even sure it was worth it. I mean, but before we get there, I actually wanted to talk about the 2 best towers real quick. We're skipping a bit to the final 11th and 12th tower, because everywhere else is monotonous, but these 2 take the cake. Like, they're really, really cool. And they're the Dusk and the Dawn towers. Why are they the best? Because they're interconnected. You ever played Metroid Prime 2 Echoes? You're gonna love this. Step into a portal, get sent to the other tower. Use portals to your advantage to make both sides work for you in the end. It was such a breath of fresh air, let me tell you. After going through the other towers and getting to this, I was like, oh wow! This is actually really interesting. I even had to go back to Elena a few times and give her the she is gobbling that shit straight up. That's not right. Anyway, after beating the final 2 bosses, it's a 2v1 fight because they're interconnected and you had to beat both sides. It's so cool! We give the Master Fleshes to Elena, who straight up goes to town on those poor things. Where'd she go?
Elena. Elena! But why? The curse, has it not been lifted?
she's demons. What the fuck? 12 master flesh equals cured, right? Well, the game said no. At this moment, you're just left there. It turns out what affinity rank you have before beating the final 2 masters is what ending you get. There's some exceptions, like having purposely bad rank in like the 6th or 9th tower or somewhere right there. There's like a scene where it like instantly ends the game if you let it. But most people are probably going to have like a C rank kind of in the middle, and then the world explodes, and that's the ending. That's what they get. And that's what I got when I first played this game years ago, and that's because I didn't grind for max affinity. I was a lot smarter back then. I will say though, as I was approaching the end game, I haven't actually used my scythe on a boss in a long time. Turns out, your chain is like the only thing that kills bosses. And like, you use your weapon not that often. Sure, you need some scything every now and then on certain bosses to wear them down so you can spike them with the chain. Like, I wasn't using my weapons that much, only for like common enemies that you can actually just run past, and except for a few spots where you get trapped in and you have to kill every enemy in the room, but those are few and far between. And you can also kill those guys with the chain really quickly, especially the tougher guys. So why do I mention that? Why do I mention about getting all the weapon, all that jazz? Is because the final boss only uses the chain to kill it, so it was pointless all that time. Isn't that just fantastic? And it turns out the boss is the lady that's been in Elena's dreams? Oh, right, I forgot to explain that. TLDR, the dreams she's been having is about a couple that loses their son in the war times, so she prays to Ios to let them have a son, and it doesn't happen, so they get experimented on to stop the war and become... I'll be honest, I wasn't really watching it. Even when rewatching it, I feel like I missed something. Whatever. Anyway, the lady goes up to get experimented on, the experiment fucks up, because it turns out she actually was Pragos with a son that Ios apparently gave her. This only happens in the S rank. That means the other ranks that you get, she wasn't pregnant, and all this stuff still happened, but it couldn't have happened if she wasn't pregnant. Anyway, she's after Aaron because he was the great-great-great-great-grandson of the dude she loved, and Mystery Lady possessed Elena because she was close to Aaron. This is some Spanish soap opera shit, I'm telling you. Anyway, this is all common practice for me now. I remember this from when I first played, so I go attack her, I listen to the weird dialogue, that's different. I beat up her orbs, and I get the final hit, and that like demon conglomeration coming after. What the fuck? This was not here last time, and it turns out if you get an A rank or below, they don't even give you anything. You get like a different end credits or something like that, and maybe like a bit of animation, and then you move on. S rank, they go full on part 2 boss, and it gets beaten by chains, which means the scythe was pointless still, and then it falls off the stupid thing, and then Grandma seals up the entire scar, and then it becomes the art student's first project in Unity. Afterwards, Aaron and Elena live happily ever ever in some village. She sings. The end. Roll credits. This game is weird. I have so many mixed feelings on it, from the gameplay to the story to like everything else. With every good point, there's always a counter argument, and honestly, vice versa. Would I recommend it? Well, that's a little hard to say. This game is really niche, and there's a lot of people out there, so I came up with my own idea. This is the Gaming Triangle, categorized by gameplay, story, and graphics. Wherever you put the little dot is just how I feel is what takes over more than the other. Gameplay covers how the main loop keeps you going through the actions, the music, and activities, yada yada, all that jazz. Story is story. It keeps you invested through cutscenes or gameplay elements or anything like that. and graphics is the shinies, or lack thereof sometimes. The point of this isn't to give the game a generic like 6 or 8 or 3 out of 10, it's to show you what the game likes to focus on, and let you decide for yourself whether it's a good idea to get it or not. With all that being said, I'm placing it here on the triangle. This game is absolutely bloated with cutscenes and story segments, and for a Wii game, it's extremely impressive how they get so much detail crammed into it. However, the reason why the point of the triangle focuses on graphics and a little story time more than the game is because the gameplay is boring. There's like 5 songs in the game, or at least it feels like it, and every time you go into the enter it goes and every time, I swear. It doesn't help. Each tower is essentially the same, with the same goal each time. Find thing, solve puzzle, go through door, fight boss, repeat, minus the last 2 towers, which actually, you know, spruced it up, and that was cool. And there are some challenging puzzles, too, but the timer becomes more of a stressor than anything when you can't figure out exactly what the devs intended through the small and few hard puzzles. And then you have to go back, and then you come back, and then you feel like an idiot because it was something that you didn't actually think of. It happened like 3 times. And the graphics are higher than the story because several story bits are only relevant if you want an S rank, because they change several things if you don't. And I was more memorized by the animation of the Master Flesh storytelling rather than the actual story, because holy shit, man, look at that! It's really cool! I love when people use different styles for stuff. And all the mini bits that keep you involved with Elena are good, if not just short-lived. And the graphics are probably so good too, because someone at the office really wanted to see the flesh ripped into.
Mackay Beats.
Your relationship with Elma? Your relationship with Elaine is fuck. Master Flesh. 12 bits of Master Flesh. 12 bits of Master Flesh equals God.